Satan, the enemy of God, is in reality the highest divine spirit. Hey guys, Steve here. In this video we're going to be looking at how the entire New Age movement is actually satanic and Luciferian at its roots. And before we take a look at some research, I just want to make a few things really clear. I'm not saying everyone involved in the New Age movement is satanic, and I'm not saying every single topic or every single pursuit within the New Age movement is satanic. But what we'll be looking at is how the side of the New Age movement that has to deal with spirituality and has to do with the occult is entirely rooted in satanic philosophy. And this comes from, not me, but the founder of the Church of Satan himself. And the point of this video is not to fearmonger or to preach Jesus to you or something. Christianity could be false and it wouldn't even affect the point of this video. The point of this video is really just to encourage those who might be dabbling within the New Age movement to follow the evidence where it leads and to turn away from things which might be dangerous or harmful. So with that being said, let's take a look at some stuff. So to start off, one of the most famous occultists in history is someone named Anton LaVey. He has been called the Black Pope and the father of Satanism because he is the one who founded the Church of Satan and brought it to the Western world as an organized religion. He is the author of the Satanic Bible, along with 4 other satanic books, and he has an extensive background in the occult. In fact, he was the founder of the Order of the Trapezoid, where he used to give presentations on the occult and paranormal research, which later evolved into the Church of Satan. So the Church of Satan was birthed out of his interest and affiliation with the occult. When I first became Christian, I was a little overambitious, and I went out and bought the Satanic Bible, which I've since thrown out, to speed read it to see if I could find any parallels between the New Age movement and the Satanic Bible. And when I was reading through it, I was finding topics like the Age of Aquarius, Lucifer as the personification of enlightenment, Thoth, spirit guides, pantheism, spiritual rebirth through studying the mysteries, the all-seeing eye, being your own redeemer and savior through enlightenment. It sounded like a slightly darker version of the exact same topics that were discussed in the New Age. So I dug a little deeper and I found this quote by Anton LaVey. In the scores of books lining the shelves of New Age bookstores, there are instructions for guided meditation, creative visualizations, out-of-body experiences, getting in touch with your spirit guides, fortune-telling by cards, crystal balls, or the stars. What if Satanists reclaimed these for their own dark purposes and integrated them into rituals dedicated to the devil, where they rightfully belong? New Agers have freely drawn upon all manner of satanic material, adapting it to their own hypocritical purposes. But in truth, all New Age labeling is, again, trying to play the devil's game without using his infernal name. So some people hearing that might be offended, they might feel a little off-put by that, but this isn't coming from me, this is coming from the father of Satanism, who spent his entire life studying the occult. So I think a good question to ask might be, is it possible that he knows something that we don't know yet? As it turns out, the entire New Age movement has its roots in satanic philosophy, and it was actually popularized and basically founded by a Satanist, and we're going to take a look at that right now. Some of you might be familiar with a woman named Helena Blavatsky. She is an occultist and a spiritualist from the 19th century who has been called the mother of the New Age and the mother of modern spirituality because of how far-reaching her impact has been on the New Age movement. She co-founded the Theosophical Society, which taught and published esoteric material pertaining to theosophy. Theosophy, according to Wikipedia, refers to systems of esoteric philosophy concerning or seeking direct knowledge of presumed mysteries of being and nature, particularly concerning the nature of divinity. Theosophy is considered a part of a broader field of esotericism, referring to hidden knowledge or wisdom that offers the individual enlightenment and salvation. The society taught everything you could possibly imagine that could fall under the umbrella of the New Age, and really gave rise to the entire New Age movement. As New Religious Movements research specialist from the University of California, Dr. J. Gordon Melton said, "No single organization or movement has contributed so many components to the New Age movement as the Theosophical Society. It has been the major force in the dissemination of occult literature in the West in the 20th century." He has also said, Madame Blavatsky stands out as the fountainhead of modern occult thought, and was either the originator and or popularizer of many of the ideas and terms which have a century later been assembled within the New Age movement. The Theosophical Society, which she co-founded, has been a major advocate of occult philosophy in the West and the single most important avenue of Eastern teaching to the West. So she was the major player in the popularization of New Age subjects. She would teach on things like ascended masters, ancient mythology, Hermeticism, Hinduism, mysticism, scientism, astrology, sacred math, esoteric knowledge, chakras, Atlantis, Kabbalah, and every other New Age topic. Between 1887 and 1997, over 2,800 journals were published in the theosophical magazine she started called Lucifer. Yes, that's right. The mother of modern spirituality published her journals in her magazine, Lucifer. Now some of you might be like, wait a minute, Lucifer is not Satan. Lucifer is a symbol for enlightenment. He's the light bearer. I'll make another video in the future showing how, in scriptural terms, Lucifer actually is Satan. Lucifer became Satan after he fell. But we don't even have to go there because Helena Blavatsky herself calls Lucifer Satan. In fact, in Volume 2 of her primary work, The Secret Doctrine, she glorifies and praises Satan well over 100 times, calling him the one true God and the savior of humanity. So right now I'm going to read through some quotes that are in Volume 2 of The Secret Doctrine, and I'll include a link to the entire book in the description of this video, so you can go and read these yourself. Satan is the anointed cherub of old. God created Satan, the fairest and wisest of all his creatures in this part of his universe, and made him prince of the world and of the power of the air. Thus, Satan, being perfect in wisdom and beauty, his vast empire is our earth, if not the whole solar system. Certainly, no other angelic power of greater or even equal dignity has been revealed to us. It is Satan who is the god of our planet, and the only god. In this case, it is but natural, even from the dead letter standpoint, to view Satan, the serpent of Genesis, as the real creator and benefactor, the father of spiritual mankind. For it is he who is the harbinger of light, bright, radiant Lucifer, who opened the eyes of the automation created by Jehovah, as alleged, and he who was the first to whisper, "In the day ye eat thereof ye shall be as Elohim, knowing good and evil," can only be regarded in light of a savior. Satan, the enemy of God, is in reality the highest divine spirit. Lucifer is divine and terrestrial light, the Holy Ghost, and Satan at one and the same time. So here is the mother of the New Age, who has had the largest influence on this movement, praising Satan as the spiritual father of mankind and the one true God of this universe. Is it possible that he's the spiritual father of the New Age movement and the type of esoteric material that was taught by Blavatsky? Let's take a look at another major influencer on the New Age movement and popularizer of the occult, who some of you are probably already familiar with. His name is Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley was a famous occultist and a 33rd degree Freemason from the early 1900s. He was a bona fide expert in the occult and has had a major influence on making esoteric material accessible to the West. He has also had a massive influence on Gerald Gardner, who is credited with bringing Wicca and witchcraft to the mainstream. In fact, the Wiccan rules and other witchcraft initiation rituals were taken almost word for word by Gerald from Crowley's material. He has also had influence on Timothy Leary, who claimed he was carrying out Crowley's work.
Well, I've been an admirer of Aleister Crowley. I think that I'm carrying on much of the work that he started over 100 years ago, and I think the 60s themselves. You know, Crowley said he was in favor of finding your own self and do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law under love. It was a very powerful statement. I'm sorry he isn't around now to appreciate the glories that he started.
And even had influence on Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan. The AA, or Argentium Astrum, is a spiritual organization he founded in 1907. Students would enter the order and then master certain occultic tasks and learn and study esoteric knowledge in order to graduate to the next level. If you were to be initiated into the order of AA, here are some of the things that you would learn about: astral projection, Hinduism, Kabbalah, yoga, magic, non-duality, ascended masters, the tree of life, transcendental meditation, higher selves, Buddhism, mysticism, Gnosticism, sorcery, rituals of the pentagram and hexagram, tarot cards, the zodiac, and many, many other topics that get taught under the umbrella of the New Age movement. There was a reason he was called by some to be a modern master of the occult, and it's because he knew what he was talking about. But like Blavatsky, he also had ties to Satanism. He referred to himself as the Beast 666, and once said, "I was not content to believe in a personal devil and serve him in the ordinary sense of the word. I wanted to get hold of him personally and become his chief of staff." He has also said, "For the highest spiritual working, one must accordingly choose that victim which contains the greatest and purest force. A male child of perfect innocence and high intelligence is the most satisfactory and suitable victim. For nearly all purposes, human sacrifice is the best." He has also said, "It is, however, always easy to call up the demons, for they are always calling you, and you only have to step down to their level and fraternize them. They will then tear you in pieces at their leisure. Nevertheless, every magician must firmly extend his empire to the depth of hell." He has also said, "This serpent, Satan, is not the enemy of man, but he who made gods of our race, knowing good and evil." He bade know thyself, and taught initiation. He is the devil of the Book of Thoth, and his emblem is Baphomet, the androgyne who is the hieroglyph of arcane perfection. So here's another major player in the New Age movement, calling Satan the god of our race. After being involved in the occult for over half a century and dedicating his entire life to magic, the spiritual mysteries, and the occult, he left this world a broke drug addict with the final words, "I am perplexed. Satan, get out." Others say his last words were, "I am perplexed," along with, "Sometimes I hate myself." With all due respect, do we really think that he was just a few more spiritual mysteries or a few more occult topics away from leaving this world in peace? Maybe if he hadn't left the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn so soon? Or if he would have studied Gnosticism a little more diligently? He's the most famous occultist who ever lived, had a massive influence on the New Age movement, and left this world totally confused, hating himself, and may or may not have had Satan breathing over his shoulder. So why are the three most famous occultists of all time all mesmerized with Satan? Is this just a coincidence, or is it possible that Satanism and the occult actually go hand in hand? What if Helena Blavatsky was right, and what if Anton LaVey was right when he said that New Age ideas and themes really belong attached to Satanic and Luciferian philosophy? To take a dive a little bit deeper, there's a website called Joy of Satan Ministries. It's a website dedicated to spiritual Satanism, and on their website you can learn about the following topics in depth: astrology, auras, magic, self-hypnosis, incense, pendulums, runes, telekinesis, brainwaves, clairvoyance, past lives, chanting, the pineal gland, the chakras, bioelectric technology, the astral plane, spells, the kundalini serpent, and trance. And you can learn all of this stuff from their Satanic Witchcraft Index, their information about the human mind, and their index of satanic meditations. Why would the Joy of Satan Ministries teach these things unless they were consistent with spiritual Satanism? The ideas and themes of the New Age are the exact same ideas taught in spiritual Satanism, and that should be concerning to some of us. And these are the same ideas that were taught by Helena Blavatsky and Aleister Crowley, advocated along a satanic philosophy, and are the very ideas that Anton LaVey accused the New Age of stealing from the devil. Now, somebody might say, okay, maybe some famous occultist from the past had some ties to Luciferian philosophy or something, but we don't see that going on today anymore. The New Age has completely disconnected from any kind of ties to Luciferian or Satanic philosophy, and they have nothing in common anymore. Well, take a look at this.
Mars looked very much like Earth a little less than 1 million years ago. It was beautiful. It had oceans and water and trees that were just fantastic. But something happened to them, and it has to do with something called the Lucifer experiment. From the very beginning of creation, everything is simply an experiment. Creation itself was just consciousness creating and inhabiting itself in that creation. There is no divine plan. Spirit can do whatever it wants. Having said that, if Spirit decides to cut itself off from the rest of consciousness and create a separate reality on its own, it can do that too. This is called the Lucifer experiment. Because Spirit is God, it can do this. There is nothing wrong with that. We've kind of been led to believe that Lucifer is evil and the devil. This just isn't true. Lucifer is just another means of perceiving the reality. It is not a unity perception of oneness, but rather a duality perception of two-ness. There's a flower of life pattern for Lucifer as well, but that's a big topic for another time.
So here is Spirit Science, the largest New Age website in the world, the largest New Age YouTube channel in the world, a website I used to write for, showing signs of Luciferian philosophy that Helena Blavatsky advocated. And there's an article on the Spirit Science website that talks about this a little bit more. The Lucifer experiment, if you recall from the Human History movie, was about a particular consciousness connected to the all who didn't want to play the same boring song. He wanted to be his own rock star, and so he split himself off from God consciousness and did his own thing, creating chaos and destruction in his wake. Now, the reason this is showing up in the work of Spirit Science is because most of Jordan's material is based off of the material of Drunvalo Melchizedek, who wrote The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life, Volumes 1 and 2. Most of which the Spirit Science series is based off of. So the largest New Age website and the largest New Age YouTube channel in the world right now is based off of material that, as we're about to see, praises Lucifer in the exact same way Helena Blavatsky did. And I'm going to read some quotes right now from The Flower of Life, Volume 2, and I'll include a link to that book in the description too, so you can double check. Lucifer did not create free will, but it was through his actions and decisions that free will became a reality. It was God who created Lucifer so that free will would exist. I am in no way attempting to protect Lucifer or sanction his acts. I'm simply giving a new/old perspective on what is behind what Lucifer is doing in the universe, that, once understood, allows the possibility of transcending good and evil and entering into pure oneness with God. So this is basically saying that if you understand Lucifer's role in the universe, you can transcend the duality of good and evil, transcend the duality of righteousness and sin, and you can skip past Jesus and enter into a holy union with God if only you understand Lucifer's role in the universe. So evidently, with God's blessing, since he created him, Lucifer started on a great experiment to see what could be learned by creating in a different way from how God/Spirit had made the original creation. So Lucifer, according to this book, is also a creator god, just like Helena Blavatsky said. Lucifer told the angelic realms that we needed to do this experiment because the universe had missing information, and the only way to get the information was to live it. So yeah, the entire fall of angels that the Bible talks about, that's because God created a universe with missing information. And Lucifer and his angels apparently had to fall because there was, quote, missing information that had to be experienced. So this Luciferian philosophy is right at the heart of the New Age movement and was at the heart of the New Age movement from the very beginning. So we have looked at how the father of the Church of Satan accused the New Age of stealing from Satan. We have seen the most influential man and woman on the New Age movement praise Satan and teach esoteric philosophy alongside Luciferian doctrine. We have seen how spiritual Satanists use New Age practices and ideas in their own devotions to Satan, and we have seen how Lucifer has even made his way into the spirit science theories. And this, of course, begs the question, and this is the whole point of the video right here. Is it possible that the material taught alongside Luciferian philosophy is part of the same deception? Is it not likely that any material that advocates Lucifer or Satan in a positive light would be filled with lies and deception? So I think this should really make us ask the question, is it possible that Anton LaVey was right? Is it possible that all of these lifetime occultists who started the entire New Age movement know something that we don't? Is it possible that maybe New Agers, like I used to be, were simply cherry-picking from Luciferian doctrine and just leaving his name out? Well, stick around because we're going to look at each individual topic in the New Age on an in-depth basis to show that this is exactly what's happening. Because any subject or idea that gets consistently taught along a Satanic or Luciferian philosophy should be questioned and should even be doubted. And so this is not about me trying to guilt-trip people or fearmonger or anything like this. It's just to present the possibility that maybe some people have followed a trail of breadcrumbs down the wrong path. And I'm not trying to condemn anybody or anything like this. I just want to encourage people into the direction of truth and away from stuff that's harmful or dangerous. Paul once said that Satan masquerades himself as an angel of light, and maybe it's the case that this is exactly what we're seeing within the New Age movement. So thanks for watching. I hope you found this video informative and helpful. If you've made it this far in the video and you're into the New Age movement, if it turns out that something's actually false and something's actually dangerous, we should be willing to just put it down and move on to the thing that corresponds with truth. The best definition of open-mindedness that I've heard is being willing to follow the evidence where it leads, regardless of how it makes us feel. And my prayer and my hope is that those of you who have watched this far in the video will stay tuned and stick around and be willing to follow the evidence where it leads. And I think it obviously leads to Jesus, but we'll talk about that in future videos. So I'll see you guys next time, and until then, take care.
There's a new religion appearing. Many of you call it the New Age religion. And it appears to be the exact opposite of the Old Age religion, meaning the religion of the Jews and the Christians. It's not really that different. I've studied it. I've talked to people who practice it. They claim it's not a religion, but it is. Christ has ceased to become a man, the Son of God. The actual manifestation of God in the flesh on earth, and has become the consciousness, the Christ consciousness. And anyone can be Christ if they have this Christ consciousness in the New Age religion. Now, these are the two religions, the Christian religion and the Jewish religion, that set the United States on its course, because these religions taught that mankind had some basic human rights. They held that the family was the basic unit in all of the world. They believed in the right to private property. They believed in the unalienable, which is defined as being incapable of being surrendered, right to life. Remember, the priests, the initiates of the mystery schools, believe that Christianity is a corruption of the mysteries, the worship of Lucifer, represented by the sun, the light, Osiris. Tex Mars, an author who has written in opposition to the New Age, wrote this about their hatred of the Christians. Quote, "The New Age believer is told, you could be a god in the next instant if only those horrible Christians weren't around with their poisonous attitudes," unquote. That thought was illustrated by another of the important New Agers, David Spangler, who wrote this in his book entitled Reflections on the Christ. Quote, "We can take all the scriptures and all the teachings and all the tablets and all the laws and all the marshmallows and have a jolly good bonfire and marshmallow roast, because that is all they are worth," unquote. So the New Age, like the Masons, feel that Christianity is the enemy, a force to be countered, not by open debate, but by contempt and ridicule, and, as shall be illustrated later, by even murder. And remember, the source of the New Age movement is the order of the Freemasons. So the socialist, the New Ager, and the Mason have declared war on the Christians. And, as in every war, the enemy must be defeated, even by bloodshed if necessary. This war has deep roots in history, and I will cover those roots so that you will understand it perfectly where this came from. This war is no different. Bloodshed is anticipated by all parties in the battle. Lavetti Lafferty and Bud Hollowell, two New Agers, started the discussion about how their religion sanctions the use of violence against the Christian community. They wrote the following in their book entitled The Eternal Dance. Quote, "This is a time of opportunity for those who will take it," apparently meaning the New Agers, the initiates of the mystery religions, socialists. "For others," apparently the Christians, "if the earth is unsuitable for them, if they will not accept the New Age religion, they will go on to other worlds," unquote, which simply means they will be exterminated. You better listen to me, folks. I am a messenger, and my message is unmistakable, and it had better not fall upon deaf ears, for those deaf ears will be rendered dead in the coming New World Order. Another New Age spokesman, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, the guru sought out by the rock and roll group known as the Beatles and others, has been quoted as saying, quote, "There has not been and there will not be a place for the unfit. The fit will lead, and if the unfit are not coming along, if they will not accept the New Age religion, there is no place for them. In the age of enlightenment, there is no place for ignorant people. Non-existence of the unfit has been the law of nature," unquote. Another example of New Age thinking on this vital issue came from a pamphlet available in a bookstore selling New Age material. It was published by something called the Guardian Action Publications of New Mexico, and it was entitled Cosmic Countdown. This pamphlet alleged that it had received these thoughts from something called higher intelligence, and it directed its attention to the hunger disease problem in the third world, and the pamphlet simply stated, quote, "The world should be forewarned to be on the lookout for diseases which have been suppressed for years, suddenly rearing their ugly heads and decimating populations already on the verge of starvation in the third world nations. Although these peoples will eventually be replaced by the new root race about to make its appearance in a newly cleansed world, nevertheless, for the moment, this is a tragedy," unquote. Quote, "Those who survive the shift will be a different type of people from those in physical form today, freed from strife and hatred, longing to be of service to the whole of mankind. The souls who helped to bring on the chaos of the present century," apparently the Christians and the Jews, "will have passed into spirit to rethink their attitudes." Unquote. To show that the New Agers are talking about the physical death of the enemy, one must only search the writings of other New Agers. Another believer to write on the subject of the destruction of those who will not accept the new religion was Ruth Montgomery, and she has been quoted as saying in a transcribed interview carried by a magazine called Magical Blend, quote, "Millions will survive and millions won't. Those who won't will go into the spirit state because there is truly no death." Unquote. Estimates of the number to perish have been made by some New Agers. One who has made such an estimate is John Randolph Price, who was quoted by Tex Mars in his book about the New Age, and he said that, quote, "John Randolph Price was told by his spirit guide that up to 2.5 billion might perish in the coming chaos." Unquote. And we already know that the goal of the plan called Global 2000 is to deplete the population by 2 billion people by the year 2000. Now, that estimate is about half of the current world population, 2.5 billion. Another estimate of the number required to die because they will not accept the new religion was offered by the so-called Tibetan master, Dwal Khul, who has said in one of his channeling experiences that 1/3 of all humanity must die by the year 2000. That would be about 2 billion people, at least. What is the plan? It includes the installation of a new world government and new world religion under Maitreya, unquote. But perhaps the most startling example of the teachings of this new religion came from the pen of Barbara Marx Hubbard, one of their most articulate writers, and she wrote in her book entitled Happy Birthday Planet Earth, quote, "The choice is, do you wish to become a natural Christ, a universal human, or do you wish to die? People will either change or die. That is the choice." Unquote. So the people of the world will be given a choice. They will choose to accept the new religion, or they will choose to die. The battle lines are drawn. Choices will have to be made. I have made my choice. What is yours? Some of the leading socialists of the past have shown that they too have chosen up sides. One such individual was Adolf Hitler, the head of the German government during World War II, who held no conviction that the murder of over 50 million people during that war was wrong. He considered himself to be an agent of this unseen God in reducing the population of people that he held to be undesirable. He wrote, quote, "I have the right to exterminate millions of individuals of inferior races which multiply like vermin," unquote. And he did what he considered acceptable inside his religion. Those who did not believe in his new religion had no choice, and they perished. The evidence that Adolf Hitler was a New Ager will be presented later in this series. But here we are being exposed to a whole new religious view, one growing daily in size and stature that openly advocates the wholesale slaughter of entire races of people. Adam Weishaupt, the founder of the Bavarian branch of the Illuminati, has also endorsed this new conviction that murder was not improper by including it in the initiation ceremony into the order. He has his initiator tell the initiate, quote, "Behold our secret. If in order to destroy all Christianity, all religion, we have pretended to have the sole true religion, remember that the end justifies the means, and that the wise ought to take all the means to do good which the wicked take to do evil." Unquote. The initiate was told that he may use whatever means, murder included, to achieve the goals of the association that he was joining, and that the major goal of the Illuminati was the destruction of all religion, including Christianity. That meant that if Christians physically stood in the way, they would be removed by simply murdering them. Weishaupt even went so far as to say that anyone not willing to take the life of another was unfit to join the Illuminati. He wrote the following in a letter to a fellow member in 1778, quote, "No man is fit for our order who is not ready to go to every length," unquote. Weishaupt wrote that again, this time using different words, quote, This can be done in no other way but by secret associations, which will by degrees, and in silence, possess themselves of the government of the states and make use of those means for this purpose, which the wicked use for attaining base ends." Unquote. Now Weishaupt, folks, was aware of the enormous power of government, and he desired its power for his members. He committed his organization to its infiltration. Then he committed it to unspeakable purposes, anything that would further the goal of the Illuminati. He even went on to grant permission to his members to distort the truth by lying if it would further their goals. He wrote this, quote, "There must not a single purpose ever come in sight that may betray our aims against religion and the state. One must speak sometimes one way and sometimes another, but so as never to contradict ourselves, and so that with respect to our true way of thinking we may be impenetrable." Unquote. And you wonder why politicians continually lie and continually break their promises. And no matter who you elect, Republican or Democrat, it doesn't make any difference. Perhaps a perfect example of an oath that these initiates take somewhere along the road to the pinnacle inside the secret society was given in a book written by George Orwell entitled 1984. Mr. Orwell has an initiate into a secret society called the Brotherhood in his story ask these questions. Quote, "Are you prepared to give your life? Are you prepared to commit murder? Are you prepared to commit acts of sabotage which may cause the death of hundreds of innocent people? Are you prepared to betray your country to foreign powers? Are you prepared to cheat, to forge, to blackmail, to corrupt the minds of children, to distribute habit-forming drugs, to encourage prostitution, to disseminate venereal diseases, to do anything which is likely to cause demoralization and weaken the power of the people? Are you prepared to commit suicide if and when we order you to do so?" This, folks, is an example of the philosophy that the ends justify the means. The initiate should do as he was required as long as the act benefited the brotherhood. There is no morality under such an oath. So murder of the unfit, those unwilling to adopt the new religion, will be acceptable, and those who do the annihilating are to feel no remorse. In the view of the New Age religion, the murderers have served mankind well. But this callous disregard for the right to life of every human on the face of the earth has been predicted before in the New Testament. John was moved to write in John chapter 6, verse 12, quote, "Yea, the time cometh, that whosoever killeth you will think that he doeth God's service." Unquote. The New World Order, ladies and gentlemen, will sail in on a sea of blood.
Efter kollektiviseringen följde hungersnöd utan like åren 1932 till 33. De politiska aktivisterna förde bort vartenda sädeskorn och ägg, varenda frukt och grönsak. Karavaner av lastbilar fraktade bort all mat. Varje medborgare som på minsta, ofta påhittade grunder, kunde misstänkas för att mildra hungersnöden eller undanhålla livsmedel eller visa annat intresse, dödades eller sändes till arbetsläger. Nöden drev fram regelrätta slakthus för föräldralösa barn, vilkas kött sedan såldes. Nära 15 miljoner människor omkom under den stora hungersnöden. Ett mycket cyniskt värde hade då den officiella sovjetiska parollen: allt för människornas väl. Allt görs i människolyckans namn. Rysslands ekonomi hade genast efter bolsjevikernas makttillträde börjat en kräftgång. Man behövde USAs hjälp. Rockefeller såg till att bygga upp den sovjetiska krigsmaskinen. Amerikanska experter medgav att kommunismen ännu en gång hade hamnat i fara och skulle ha brutit samman om man från USA inte finansierat den första femårsplanen, och delvis även senare, trots att hela projektet på grund av ryssarnas okunnighet ständigt medförde nya problem. Men amerikanska kapitalinjektioner kunde fortfarande hålla det klena, ineffektiva och brutala systemet vid liv, trots alla svårigheter. Ryssarna klarade ofta inte av att bygga någon riktigt välfungerande fabrik, fast amerikanerna hade sammanställt projekten i detalj. Därför slöt industribyggaren Albert Kahn från Detroit i februari 1930 ett avtal med Moskva om att bygga ett antal industrier i Sovjetunionen. Kostnaden var $2 miljarder. Hans närmaste medarbetare var rådgivare till Sovjetregeringen i frågor som rörde den andra femårsplanen. Fram till år 1937 hade redan 18 miljoner människor fallit offer för Stalins hantlangare Lazar Kaganovitjs terrorvåg. Förutom de 30 miljoner som dog under kollektiviseringen och svältkatastrofen. År 1937 igångsattes den stora terrorn. Man avrättade människor i vågor. Under en sådan våg den 30 oktober 1937 dödades särskilt många i Moskva och Leningrad. Även i mördandet började det råda planekonomi. Den första utrotningsplanen lät Lazar Kaganovitj sammanställa i juli